fucking now. And with that cough, we're live. Congratulations. Timing is everything. And that is the key to comedy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Christopher Lowry. I got Cameron Anderson here. And this is the Brushfire Mind. Well, we got a couple things to talk about tonight. And if you read the description and you're expecting a certain amount of content, quite frankly, I got a few more things to get off my chest tonight than I had time to squeeze into the description. A couple of pieces popped up here from my boys over at P Battle. And I do want to say a special hello to the Proud Boys of Atlanta. I've been chit-chatting with them lately. Western chauvinism. Yes. By that, what I mean is Western culture is superior to the alternatives. Well, that's not what the show's about tonight. We're going to get into some other stuff. We're going to be talking about net neutrality. We're going to be talking about hot guys on the tube. I'm going to bitch about Jack Dorsey a little bit. And I'm probably going to just lose a little bit of my shit talking about pedophilia on YouTube. So buckle up, kids. You're in for a ride tonight. All right. So, I want to treat net neutrality for just a minute. I don't want to go deep into it here. And basically the treatment that I want to give it is about why I don't want to go deep into it on this particular show. So we do a 1-hour live show on Sunday nights. Really tearing into net neutrality can easily eat up that entire block of time. And there are some charts that I want to show you, some graphics I want to show you related to that information. A few articles I'd like to peruse with you. So that's just going to have to wait for a little bit until we can do it as its own separate piece. Hey, we got one of those WCs I was talking about with P Battle. Proud of you, boy. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Keep an eye out for Legion. He'll troll your ass off. It'll be priceless. It will be the making of legendary material. So expect that. Hallelujah. Also, if it's your first time here, brother, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, because I am 5 subscribers away from getting the custom URL so we can get this message out further to the masses. And maybe we can make some of those suckers pay for us to produce some legitimate conservative-themed content. I got the Kingmaker saga in works. It's going to be fucking brilliant. Anyway, net neutrality. If you read the headlines, it reads a lot like what's happening is Donald Trump is trying to repeal net neutrality specifically for the purpose of explicitly allowing large internet service provider companies to victimize consumers. Because that's what us evil right-wing monsters want. We're all a bunch of white supremacists and evil capitalists. As if a functioning capitalist could have success by being aggressively predatory. There are people who are aggressively predatory and enjoy huge financial success. They're called Hollywood actors. And apparently they're all pedophiles and rapists. So,
I thought you were going to say socialists.
Didn't I?
Yeah, maybe you did.
So, and just a little aside, well, since I mentioned that we're going to be producing some more dramatic content in the future, hey, come to work for the Brushfire Mind. We're conservative filmmakers, which means minimal rape. I say minimal rape because, on principle, I don't discriminate in my hiring practices against people based on their political positions. So it's entirely possible that I'll hire a couple of Democrats. So minimal rape. It is less probable, however, that a large number of Democrats are going to be applying to do work on my films. But with net neutrality, this idea that Donald Trump is pushing to repeal, because I mean, I keep hearing these words, I keep seeing these comments on Facebook, on Twitter. People are talking about how the evil Trump is trying to repeal net neutrality. I'm sorry, what? Cameron, help me out. What is it that he wants to repeal?
Well, there aren't actually any laws to repeal, are there? It's just a set of loose regulations that are.
Well, how about that shit?
So the FCC, man, that's all they got to do is pass a rule. That doesn't have to go through Congress.
Oh, I see in the comments the how to have. No, trust me, P-Battle, we're gonna get after that in just a minute. That's a whole different bucket of worms right there. Little worms that aren't ready for things yet. Anyway, you were saying about the FCC. Sorry.
Well, I mean, there are no laws to repeal. The FCC is it's not Congress, it's not the Senate, it's not anything like that. The FCC just has to pass a rule change, and the rules have changed because they're the FCC.
So the argument from the left is that if these rules go away, suddenly ISPs and cable providers will be able to throttle certain kinds of content. They'll be legally allowed to censor certain kinds of content. That's already happening. I mean, that's already a problem. Hell, this channel has been has had videos demonetized before. Where we are now, actually, is we were a fully monetized channel. They started when we started coming out real heavy for Trump last year. About every second video we published was being demonetized while it was in the live stream. Like the video wasn't even fully published before it was being demonetized. We had a lot of those last year, and then they flipped the rules around on us and changed what the requirements are to be a YouTube partner. So we actually need a few more views to qualify for that now. We fell behind a little bit there, but that's fine. We're getting there. I'm sure I'll get 3 or 4 more subscribers tonight, and that'll get us almost to that age. I tell you, guys, I'm struggling. I'm fighting myself so hard because it would be so easy to just get on the computer and set up 5 shitty little Gmail accounts that I'm never going to use and subscribe to my own channel 5 times and just close that gap. But damn it, I want to get it done the right way. And it's tempting. But what is temptation for if not to test our resolve and our decency? I feel pretty comfortable with myself right now. Struggling, but comfortable. Now, here's my first and easiest opposition to the idea of net neutrality where it concerns the law. You have to excuse me. I've been sick this week. I'm pretty much just getting over it, so I'll probably have a little lung butter situation going on here.
Oh, they don't want to know that.
No, they don't, but they're gonna, and I might as well apologize for it up front. Sorry, ladies. It's how we do. Anyway, if the idea is net neutrality, then I would posit that any involvement on the part of the government is syllogistically the opposite of neutrality. I would like to believe that a free market solution solves the question of ISPs abusing their customers. I've seen several arguments on the left about how they'll throttle certain kinds of content, and Comcast might not, if you want to have Comcast, they might not let you get Netflix because they'd rather you watch their shows, stuff like that. And, there was a time before the FCC had the net neutrality rules that are in place now. And let's see, that time was, prior to 2008. My Netflix account is almost 15 years old. So a little quick math. It kind of smells like we're trying to solve a problem we don't have. Now, on the other hand, what we have had in place, even since that long ago, is we've had this situation where your major internet service providers, which are all cable companies now, some of you guys are probably old enough like me to remember back in the 90s, we had, there were service providers everywhere. They were popping up all over the place. You had, what was it? You had MindSpring. Net Zero was a thing. I mean, it still exists, but it's functionally unserviceable. But they were popping up all over. Earthspring. Of course, AOL is dead in the water.
Yeah, the thing that got us all on the internet in the first place. It's now nobody uses it.
But yeah, there were little tiny ISPs popping up all over the place, and I mean, I can quite clearly remember when we first got internet in the house, when it was Daddy was getting it so that the kids could have it for school. I remember Sergeant Major pouring through papers and reading over prices and comparing, and trying to figure out who he wanted, and saying, "Oh, well, these guys are offering this for that and that for this." And I mean, the numbers didn't even make any sense to me then. Of course, now, I wish I could get my hands on some of those old ads from back then, because it was like, 48 bits per second. Like, oh, really?
No,
wow.
Just bits.
Wow. Yeah, that's right, Rod. I can still hear that noise haunting me in my sleep.
Click on the AOL icon and dial up.
Well, that shit doesn't exist anymore. It's just not there. And net neutrality has in no way allowed for small competitive ISPs to pop up. However, what has happened under the rules as they exist, under the rules as they developed under the Obama administration, is we have a situation where a very tiny handful of cable companies are the only internet service providers available in almost any given area. And I mean, they clearly have deals with one another. You got Comcast, Charter, and
AT&T and Verizon.
AT&T and Verizon.
And that's about it. Like some 91, 92% of the country, like that's it. That's all you can have. And if you live in different counties, you can have AT&T or Comcast. And then if you live in totally separate states or separate counties, you can have Verizon or Charter. You can't even pick between all four. No. Right. That's not how that works.
And quite simply, AT&T does not offer a package that's competitive with Comcast, at least not where I am. AT&T offers cheaper service, but it's
copper wire.
It's garbage. I mean, it's absolute garbage. Well, the cable is also copper wire, but it's a great big copper wire. It's not a couple of little dinky bitchy copper wires. Now, a few years ago, I actually signed up for the AT&T service and replaced my Comcast service with it, and that lasted for about a day and a half, because that's how long I dealt with not being able to conduct my insurance business online before I called AT&T and said, cancel this shit and turn my money back to me. I ended up having to sick my lawyers on those fuckers. They came after me like 6 months later and said I owed them $400 for services. I'm like, nope, I owe you precisely nothing. And here's a letter from an important person that says that. Eat my shit. But what have we gotten out of net neutrality so far? We've gotten an expensive political conversation, a divisive misinformation campaign, a lot of conversation from a bunch of people who just don't have a clue what they're talking about. And now I've had to waste, 16 minutes of your time reminding you that everybody you hear from on this subject, for one, it's an incredibly complex subject because it's a false dichotomy. Half the information that you're going to hear about net neutrality is going to be replicated on either side of the argument because the argument doesn't know what its premises are. So we'll come back to net neutrality and we'll give it a more aggressive treatment in a couple of weeks. Hey, Lucas, welcome to the show. Good to have you, buddy.
Yeah, I missed you last week, man.
Hope you weren't feeling sick, because I was. Better now, thanks.
There's nothing poor about Netflix.
No, Cameron's right, Rod. There's nothing poor about Netflix. So, okay. Anecdotally, do y'all remember when Netflix split their service sides? They quit doing it all for one price, and they went to having you pay X for the DVD service, and you paid Y for the streaming service. Originally, it was like $9.99 a month, and you got you could have like 3 DVDs at a time, and you had to turn one in to get the next one on your list. And then you also had the streaming service that way.
The streaming service was the supplementary service.
Right. Well, and then the streaming service got bigger, and they split it. So they were providing 2 services, and you had to pay $9.99 a month for each of them. Man, I knew exactly what was happening and what was going to happen when I saw the first announcements of that. Hold on just a second. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of a complaint out of Netflix about our streaming quality. Apparently, we're getting throttled by the net neutralitizers. Anyway.
No, that's just YouTube. They don't like us.
Yeah, probably. Sons of bitches. Anyway, I spotted that son of a bitch for what it was right when it happened. That was right before I deployed to Afghanistan. While I was downrange, I did this thing. I got into day trading. It was great. I would buy something stupid. I would buy just a shitload of stupid stocks early in the morning, and then go out and get in a bunch of go out and get in trouble. Got blown up a couple times. Got some gunfights, kicked in some doors, probably waded through some water that wasn't the most sanitary in the world. I may or may not have walked through 15-foot tall cannabis fields hoping not to get shot by the guy that owned the land. Army shit. And then come back at the end of the day and sell what I'd bought in the morning. So, I mean, talk about a constant adrenaline rush. If you ever get a chance to combine actual combat with day trading, brother, I recommend it over any drug you can think of. Netflix at that time, of course, I was subscribing to it because I could watch Netflix downrange. Well, it cost me $140 a month to have internet service in Afghanistan. But Netflix stock went just straight in the toilet overnight when they announced that they were doing that. I was like, nope. This is the next thing. Watching television on your schedule without commercials is the thing that's going to happen. And what really convinced me of that at the time is I just bought the first generation iPad right before I deployed. So I got downrange, and that was so much fun. I was trading Apple stock and Netflix back and forth, just watching the both of them do this thing as they call them. It was fantastic. Anyway, that was one of those signs of the times, you know. Times they are changing, and here we are now. So, Netflix, all this stuff. Let's get to YouTube and censorship. This week, happy Thanksgiving, by the way, guys. And I'll say it again at the end of the show, but this week I've seen a couple of videos pop up here and there talking about censorship stuff, and there is some really disturbing shit going on YouTube right now.
May I?
Yeah.
This is actually something that I've personally been aware of for about 2.5 years, because I have 4 kids, and kids, they know how to use these things better than we ever will. Like, my 2-year-old knows how to sign on to Netflix. And he's 3 now, but they know what they want. They know how to call up what they want to watch. So my wife and I, in an effort to be, good parents, said, hey, we're going to put some restrictions in place, that there are certain videos that they can't look up, and we'll create all these filters and this and that and the other. And we eventually got it to the point to where we had restricted at the time, the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old, to all they could watch was things that were Disney associated. That was it. That was all they could watch. And there was this video that they loved to watch, and they started talking about it. And finally one day my son said, oh yeah, it's the Bloody Mickey video. So what, the Bloody Mickey video? What is this? And it was horrifying, because somebody had taken cutouts of Mickey Mouse characters, and these Mickey Mouse characters walk into this family's home, and everything's all good and awesome. And then they flip out, murder the entire family, and drink their blood. All right there. And it was like, oh, wow. And this just slid right by YouTube censors. But you go ahead and demonetize our channel, guys, because we're the problem. So, yeah, please continue. I just wanted to throw in that even before this has turned into the thing that Chris is about to talk about, there have been people sliding things past YouTube's algorithms for some time now. Please, if you would continue.
Yeah, go ahead and take a second and just don't leave the video. Just click on your search bar there and type how to have. And I'll bet you before you get the V and the E out, the first video recommended to you is going to be entitled How to Have Sex with Your Child.
You done? You scarred for life now? Because we are.
No, I don't recommend you watch it, obviously. But Tim Pool actually did a good video on this recently. I linked his channel in the description last week, and I'll link that same video in the description below here after we go off live tonight. There's this thing going on where these dudes have set up algorithmic generators that basically it's a computer program that scrubs the internet for trending search terms, looks for the ones that are generating the highest video traffic on YouTube, and then uses an algorithmic animation generator. So it might be like one of the most popular ones. It's just 2 stick figures in a kung fu battle. 2 stick figures have a kung fu fight with one another. And that's the base animation. The algorithm then searches for search terms and generates videos like where it just takes cartoon parts and makes the stick figures look like Donald Trump fighting Adolf Hitler or Donald Trump fighting Hillary Clinton. And it's the exact same animation, but the computer changes the characters, changes the background. Some of them are Stalin pooping in a toilet. A lot of the videos have to do with bodily fluids, pooping and peeing into a toilet or a bucket or a cup, and then another child consuming that fluid. A lot of videos about cutting up small dolls and stuff like that with a large kitchen knife. And what has happened is the videos from a couple of years ago that were shock content that adults were getting a kick out of, like the knife thing. There was a series of videos a while ago where this guy was taking a large butcher knife, heating it to 1,000 degrees, and then cutting objects with it. You know, he'd heat it to 1,000 degrees and see if it would cut a bowling ball. He would see if it would cut an iPhone in half. He would try to cut through a laptop. He would cut through X, Y, and Z. And so all of his video titles had words like knife and cut and so on and so forth in it. Well, what these algorithmic generators are relying on is not generating videos with titles that will pop up when you search for them. What they're relying on is those videos hitting the suggested ranks so that when a parent hands a tablet or a phone to a kid, especially a baby, but what's happening is those are the videos that are coming through on the autoplay feature. When the child isn't making choices, the child is just sitting there staring at this thing. Mommy and daddy allowing their babies to be babysat by their tablets. And that shit is terrifying.
Well, because you can't watch every single video before they watch it.
Right.
Back when there was only 3 channels on TV, you could conceivably screen 100% of the content that your kids were going to see. But when there's millions and millions and millions of videos, and you do your due diligence as a parent, you Google these channels and you set up filters, and it goes back to the example of years ago where, you know, we'd only let our kids watch Disney stuff. And some guy figured out how to slide in, because my kids weren't looking for it. It's exactly how you described it. It auto-played next in the queue of videos that they were watching that were Disney-related videos. And it slid right past the censors. And because the first 2 minutes of it was so innocuous, was so, oh, well, this is kind of weird. Somebody basically did a copy and paste with some Disney characters, but whatever, it can't be that bad. Oh, God, yeah, it was that bad. It was awful. It was terrible. And now they come back and they go, oh, but Daddy, I want to watch the Bloody Mickey video. Or God knows what else.
Well, according to Tim Pool's reporting on it, currently, or at least this was current 2 weeks ago, so I don't imagine there's been a lot of change in it yet. The most popular of these videos, the ones that are getting the most traffic, involve cutting dolls with knives, Disney characters drinking one another's urine, and people getting injections in their ass. Those are the 3 big ones. And a lot of them apparently are a couple of Disney characters. They drink each other. One drinks the other one's urine, and then their ass gets big. Their ass balloons for some reason, and they fix it by getting an injection in their ass with an overly large needle. And yeah, I mean, all 3 of my kids have tablets. We homeschool. We use the tablets for Spanish lessons, for vocabulary building, for stuff like that. I've stopped letting them watch YouTube. My 2-year-old son loves the old 80s Ghostbusters cartoon. And you know what? Hell yeah. I love the old 80s Ghostbusters cartoon. I can't wait to get him hooked on G.I. Joe. Because knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
And yeah, that's one of those things that I want to do with our content in the future when we're not going to be doing it with the Kingmaker, but I want to do a series eventually that's funny and has a clear moral theme through the series. And then at the end of the episode has that old 80s trope where the characters talk about the lesson. And I'll gimmick up some slogan that's clearly and intentionally an homage to the knowing is half the battle thing. Maybe throw in a joke about how communication is the first casualty of war. But that's been a big pet peeve. No, it's not a pet peeve. No, it's legitimate moral outrage, because that is, guys. Yeah, I'm a devout capitalist. Welcome to the united theocracy of capitalism, where the dollar is almighty God and possession are 9/10 of your commandments. I'm a devout capitalist. Absolutely. Laissez-faire, free market, let it happen. But guys, when you target children with filth to make money, that, I'm sorry, my free markets do not include involuntary slavery.
Well, your rights end at the tip of your nose, and my rights begin at the tip of mine, and that includes my children. And if I don't want my children exposed to garbage, well, that's my right. And further, that's actually my responsibility as their parent. I'm not trying to raise your kids. I don't need anybody to help me raise mine. And we live in this world, and we have this situation where Bering can get yanked from Twitter because he's Bering, and apparently people can't take a joke, and that's all fine and well and good. Then, oh yeah, the corporations are going to step in and they're going to police that content, people. But you've got this awful, awful stuff that slides right by their algorithms over and over and over and over again. And now, I mean, I'm with Chris. Like 99% of the time, let it happen, let it happen, let it happen. YouTube wants to yank this channel right here, right now. Fine. It's YouTube's platform. Fine. Yank it. Yank it. I'm adults. YouTube is adults. We can do whatever we want. But when you start dragging kids into it and you go, duh, well, it's the algorithm. I mean, yeah, which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? No, that's not an acceptable excuse for me. Not at all.
And, you know, I'm glad you brought up the algorithm in that context. It's all about the algorithm. This rash of pedophilia, of support for pedophilia apparent on YouTube right now, it's already being called by some of the bigs like Sargon and Bering and them, the second adpocalypse. We just had a report released. Well, it was a New York Times article, I believe, just came out about it, and several of the big advertisers, including Amazon, are pulling their ads from YouTube again, because their ads are being served in front of videos of young girls in lingerie rolling around in beds and shit like that. Like,
just filth.
And YouTube says that they've got an algorithm that's supposed to protect people from nasty content, from terrible content, from hateful content. So that algorithm manages to demonetize and derail the livelihoods of conservative content generators like Steven Crowder. We're not making a living at this yet. Maybe one day. Right now, this is more of a hobby. But we are fully demonetized right now. I'd like to overcome that in the future, but that's where we are right now. We basically run this out of pocket right now.
But somehow we're the problem.
Right. But legitimate full-time conservative content generators like Crowder and Ben Shapiro, those guys, the algorithm managed to throw them out. But the same algorithm that can carefully decide that Ben Shapiro is a hateful Nazi.
Hateful Jewish
Jew.
Nazi. Hateful Jewish Nazi. Yep. Yep.
That same algorithm can't be taught that naked children are a bad idea. Okay, if that means you can't pop up the video of Junior in the bathtub for Pop and Granny to see, so they can see how cute the baby is, because that might fall under the scope of kitty porn. I hate the word sacrifice, but if that's what it takes to get YouTube to demonetize pedophilia pornography, I mean, at least they could also, I would like to see them demonetize pedophilia pornography and remonetize legitimate conservative commentary. But I'll take just getting rid of the kitty porn. If you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. I really would.
Well, it says something about their priorities. It's their agenda is bleeding through. I mentioned something with.
Well, I mean, they're big Planned Parenthood supporters. So I mean, sure, pro baby murder. Why not pro baby rape?
Well, because
it's not that far a leap.
Well, no, I mean, Chris, didn't you get the memo? Once it's outside the womb, then it's a person.
Until it's old enough to be a child bride?
Man, it is like 10 degrees colder in that shade right there. It's... Yeah. But it is their agenda bleeding through. That's what it is. And I like Chris, and very much laissez-faire. You do what you want. It's your company. It's your money. It's your time. It's your effort. It's your sweat. It's your tears. It's your blood. You run your company how you want. Like, really.
I mean, legitimately, this dude is wearing a bespoke bow tie. He ain't fucking around about the whole make it what it is game.
Right. Anyway, we're not getting off on that tangent again. Yep. But the thing is, and it's a point that I've actually made on this channel before. There's no such thing as unbiased news or unbiased information, because somebody at some point in time decided what information they were going to share with you and what information they were not going to share with you. And that in and of itself creates a bias. So if you take that to its next step, sure, YouTube has bias. It's run by people that have their own thoughts and feelings and opinions and their own personal moral codes. And if that steamrolls us, then that steamrolls us. Fine. That's your choice. You're allowed to make it. But, I mean, we're talking about like Mount Everest levels of hypocrisy here. Oh, think of the children. Think of the children. Think of the hate and the violence that we're spreading. When you've got 8-year-olds rolling around in feather beds wearing basically Victoria's Secret level negligee, how much hate and violence does that spread? I mean, Baked Alaska is a fuckwit who from a certain kind of little he deserved to get maced in the face, haha. But no, he really didn't, because that's actual violence, and that was a terrible thing that happened. Not defending Baked Alaska, and that's not even the point. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go Google all that, because that was just spooky to watch. But at the same time,
actually,
what actually
did he recover any of his vision?
I don't know that he ever recovered his vision. I mean, it is Baked Alaska. I didn't follow it that hard.
Keep talking. I'm going to look it up.
But that's all okay. That's fine. They're allowed to do that. But when you actually talk about things that actually perpetrate real violence, real oppression, real, dare I say, actual rape culture, well, I mean, again, that's the thing that I keep thinking is, oh, dude, which way did he go, George? Which way did he go? It's just the algorithms. So, yeah, I wasn't supposed to have to keep talking. That was you.
Oh,
You
well,
killed
I
us.
wanted you to keep talking.
Oh, okay. I
Anyway.
mean, I can.
I mean, the last I heard, the tolerant left basically kept Baked Alaska's eyesight.
Yeah.
That Baked Alaska, he's
He's a white supremacist. He was at the Charlottesville rally. He got maced with what appears to be bear mace and was blind. The last anybody heard,
yeah.
and that was okay because he was a Nazi. But if you want to be Harvey Weinstein, well, I mean, you just have to go to sex rehab. That's just an addiction problem. And I personally don't think it's much of a leap, especially when you condense things in terms of entertainment media, which is what all of it is. I mean, yes, the internet is this wonderful place for the sharing of ideas, but what do we use our internet for? Netflix, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, because we want to be entertained. We do. Are you not entertained? Why, yes, I am. We watched all 13 episodes of The Punisher, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. There were no commercials. It was awesome.
Well, I'm not even going to give you pushback on that. I'm going to point something else. I'm going to point something else out. I'm working on a paper right now for a college class. I and so of course I'm using the internet to go to certain sites like Galileo and the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and places like that where I can read and download copies of peer-reviewed journals for the research part of my paper. But part of the research that I'm doing is actually stuff like I'm watching Richard Dawkins give lectures on atheism on YouTube because the paper I'm writing right now is entitled Turtle Stacking, the Incoherence of Atheism. Um, so, I watch lectures by prominent atheists making their case, making their arguments for the belief that there is no God, and then listening to lectures by theologists, theologians, and philosophy of religion professors arguing the case for theism. Incidentally, if you're not familiar with them, check out Rao. Rao is the friendly atheist that made the point about the difference between friendly atheists and hostile atheists. So definitely go check him out. He offers the argument that a reasonable atheist cannot hold theists to be incoherent. And I'm going to just abuse that shtick. But anyway.
So,
what else did we want to talk about?
Yeah,
we
I was
wanted
about to say, what else do you have
guys
for
on the
us?
tube.
Oh, God,
So
this
you,
one I love.
You brought this one to my attention,
This
so I
one
want
I
you to go
love.
ahead and crack it for me.
Okay, all right. So apparently, there is this thing called there's this website called Tube Crush, and Tube Crush is where women and gay men take pictures of hot guys on the London Metro, on the subway system. And so some PR firms said, hey, we want to be able to advertise to that environment. We want to be able to advertise to women and homosexual men because they've got the disposable income. They're actually going to be on the subway. So we will basically use all of these other sort of crowdfunded, crowdsourced websites because they're basically already doing the work for us, and it's genuine. So Tube Crush is really simple. Tube Crush is you surreptitiously take a picture of a guy on the London Metro, and for the kids at home, that means these guys have no idea they're being photographed.
Yeah.
And then you post the picture to Tube Crush, and this is a guy that rides the tube that you have a crush on because he's cute or hot or whatever. And it turns out that the three things in particular that women in particular found the most attractive were muscles, money, and guys wearing a coat and tie. which is hilarious because I could have saved that PR firm a ton of money. I want my check. I could have told you that. I already knew. Why do you think I wear a tie? It's not a hard equation. It's really not. But all jokes aside, but what's really funny about this is the way the Telegraph wrote it up.
Newsweek.
Well, I didn't read about it in Newsweek. I read about it in the Telegraph.
Okay.
And the Telegraph actually took the position they were upset. Well, how in the world have we come so far in women's liberation and basically girls still like muscles and money? What is that? What is that? Oh, they were distraught.
Yeah,
they were upset.
Newsweek was the same way.
Could not believe it. Could not believe that it turns out that girls like alpha males. Who knew?
With money.
With money. That know how to dress and brush their hair. Like it's... And look, if for no other reason...
Brush your teeth. Brush your goddamn teeth.
We're not going there. That's not happening. And look, it's worth...
Read a book. Look it up.
It's worth going and looking at these pictures. I did, just because I was curious. Did you see what I did there? That was a double pun. Yeah. Anyhow, all jokes aside, I was curious, so I went and actually looked at some of these pictures that had upset people so much.
I bet you were curious.
Yeah, sugar. Why do you think I'm sitting here next to you?
Because you don't value ambiguity in relationships?
Every single man in these pictures had one of two things. They were either unkempt and had clearly just come back from the gym and had that swole going on because they had just come back from the gym, or they were extremely well manicured, wearing nice clothes. Their hair was all in place. Their coats were pressed. Their pants were pressed. And surprise, surprise, this is what women found attractive. And it's almost funny. It really is, because while I don't actually know what makes a guy attractive outside of the academic sense. That's never been my bag. Never will be. But even then, I could have told you what you would have found out. And on top of this, what it says, when you juxtapose it with how upset they were, because basically they were mad that human nature is human nature. It's sort of the reverse of, well, why do guys want girls with cleavage? Duh, who cares why? I know that's what I like. It's what most guys like and all of that. It's an evolutionary response. So the other thing that I want to point out about this is if this was done in reverse, if we're taking pictures of hot chicks on the subway and posting it to a website and calling that, our tube crush, God, that would be really, really offensive, wouldn't it?
Well, plus, if you were a straight guy and you did anything, you called it your whatever crush, the rest of us would look at you and say, gay.
Especially if it was a tube crush.
Your tube crush?
But that's, look, it's worth looking
I
up.
just keep you on a straight diet of tube steak and throw pillows.
But it's worth looking up, just because all the articles that are written about this are just so distraught. They can't believe that women like what women stereotypically like, as though there's something wrong with it. I mean, look, I'll go full on misogynistic with it. Women want safety and security in their man. They do. And they look for some really specific markers that indicate safety and security. It's what they think is sexy. And men want nurturers out of their women. They want somebody that's going to take care of the babies while they're young and help take care of them while they're old. It just is what it is. And again, there are specific physical markers that we find attractive that for whatever reason, you call it nature, you call it God's divine will, whatever, but we see it, we like it, we want a piece of it because we want to keep it around forever and ever and ever. Amen.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add to that. We got 9 minutes left. You got anything else you want to cover?
No, that was it. That one just, it tickled me pink. It's like, oh, just one more thing about it though. The same people that are offended by this are the same people that tell you you must accept evolution at face value.
Yes, that's right. You know what? I almost forgot. We talked about this earlier. Yeah, if you're offended by the fact that women find strong, physically superior, apparently successful men to be attractive, then you are an evolution denier. That's it. That's it. I mean, that is evolution. That is how survival of the fittest functions. If your intent is to change the nature of Darwinian evolution, then why are we having an argument about that shit? Evolution is a brute fact? Okay. So is my superiority.
Oh, I like it when they burn with us.
So, yeah. Well, guys, I guess we're going to cut it off just a couple of minutes early tonight. I haven't heard from the Peanut Gallery in about 20 minutes, and I've been getting some weird reports back from YouTube, so I'm a little worried about how this last few minutes has been running. It looks like we've got traffic. Looks like you guys are still watching, but y'all got real quiet, so I'm kind of curious as to what happened there. But we'll see you next week. Appreciate you coming out to hang out with us. To my P-Battle buddies in the ATL, proud of you boys. I'll see y'all soon. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. And until next week, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Good night. And we love you for it, Lucas. Good night, brother.